Generally, what we are doing now is based on the government approved strategic plan for Nigerian railway development, and it's centered on reviving it, and it's broken into three major plans. One is what we call system stabilization, system modernization, and system transition. What are these issues? The issue one concerning the system stabilization is having taken due cognizance of the state of affairs concerning Nigerian railways in years 2000 2002. Government decided that a revival program has to come up. Before that time, the railway has become irrelevant. That nobody thinks about railway when they are moving both freight or they are traveling as passengers. They were in doldrum. Most of the infrastructures have been neglected and they are unfit for the purpose. So based on that reality, government started this program, and they started actual implementation in 2008 by allowing proposals for the application of a system narrow gauge line. If there were 3,500 kilometers of line. And later on, they commenced also in fact earlier, 2008, thereabout, they commenced the process of modernization. What is in their view then as modernization is building new lines. Okay? Building new lines, and maybe because centrally most of the co-funding and financing partners, railway being very heavy investment area, people go borrowing, take loan to develop the infrastructure. In China, what they have is standard gauge. It's what we call standard gauge, or what some people call normal gauge. Is what is popular in China, and that is what is introduced. It's seen as a modernization over and above the narrow gauge that we were using before. That is constructed largely by the colonial government. So that process started. Even though we talk in terms of progress, before 2015, we are having a lot of gap. Okay, in terms of timing. Like for example, I can tell you the system stabilization, that is revival and bringing back to life the narrow gauge should have been completed by 2010 or so thereabout, but it's nowhere. Do you understand? And then the modernization even itself supposed to have been completed maybe by 2023, 2025. But we have projects today that are starting and they will not be completed until 4, 5, 7 years later. So you can see already there's a timeline gap. But above all, since 2015, government has concerted, focused strategically on doing this plan, bringing the railway back, bringing it back in a sense to serve domestic economy, contribute significantly to economic diversification, to economic growth, to commercial enhancement, and then bring cultural interaction among Nigerian people. So others are by government to connect most of our commercial and administrative centers as well as industrial centers, and also reach inner recesses where we have our natural mineral resources, with railways effectively the transportation mode that can handle them, not trucks. So the same thing with imports. So we have made a lot of progress in this direction. We have completed on the Lagos-Kano line, which is one of the major priority line. In terms of modernization, we have completed at least 2 segments now. Out of the 4 or 5 segments, the thing was never broken into. So you have Kaduna to Abuja, you have Lagos-Kano, that Lagos-Kano system. So what is we are embarking upon now, which I believe will soon fully take off, is the segment Kano to Kaduna, the segment Abuja to Mina, Ilorin, Ibadan. So you get the entire network already between Lagos and not that alone. Government has also directed that we link these lines So other prioritized projects are Portharcourt Maiduguri, the one we just did groundbreaking, the Lagos Calabar, the coastal railway line, okay, the central line, which is the completion of what you have now between Itakwe and Abuja, so that you get a direct link from Warri to Abuja, and then the Kano Marathon. Okay, going further in terms of network, we still go to the northwestern axis, Guzau, KB, Sokoto, that line, so that northwestern line, and then the far east, north central, which is Gamboru Ngala, Maiduguri to Kano. That is all on project that was studied. We have their feasibility studies with a little bit of outline business case appropriately done, so that we can pick them in terms of priority. We don't just do railway because it's belonging to this region or that region. Railway must be built because of their viability. Okay, they may not be able to pay for their infrastructure on their own, but they must be able to show breaking even in terms of operating costs, okay, and income. So when it breaks even like that, the revenue generated in this case now, you can start using it either for paying back of the loan, part of it is contributing to payment of the loan, and some to even further maintain or even further expand the line. Okay, then you have a profitable venture, and that is what we are looking for whenever we say governments will come, that we are ready to kickstart or bring grant or commission development projects. That is the central overriding factor. So we have done well. I believe by 2023, most of these lines will have been completed, and Nigeria will begin to see a significant change in the way businessmen, manufacturers, and industrialists are able to have bigger, wider scope of thinking and investing.
Congratulations on the groundbreaking of the Portharcourt Maiduguri Eastern Rail Line project. Okay, so Nigerians are of the opinion that a standard gauge should have been constructed instead of the narrow gauge. Can you clearly clarify this situation for the public? What is the difference between the narrow gauge rail line and the standard gauge rail line?
Okay. As the name goes, narrow gauge railway is narrower than what you call standard gauge or normal gauge. In some countries, this is what we call standard gauge, also called normal gauge. And to tell you, there are different types of gauge, which is the distance or the width between the inner edge of the track. You know, when you see a railway line pass two lines, so the inner edge from one end to the other of it, that's the gauge. That's what we call the gauge. So this gauge exists in Nigeria, for example. Our narrow gauge in Nigeria is 1067 millimeters. In feet, that will be about 3 feet plus. Okay? In some countries, it's 600 mm, which is 2 feet. It's also being used. They call it narrow gauge also. But Nigeria has 1067 mm, which is developed by British Redwood. And standard gauge is 1437, which is a little bit more than 4 feet. Then we have other gauges. You have broad gauge. Some broad gauge is 1670, which are 5 feet plus, and you have 2000 mm gauge, which is the design is now wider. The choice of one or the other relies on some factors. Okay, but either you put standard or narrow gauge, you will have an efficient functioning railway trains. The rest depend on your operational planning. Okay, it depends on where you take your train to. Okay, but talking technically, in most cases, when you have hilly roads and where you want to negotiate into valleys and hills, like you have in Portharcourt Maiduguri. Immediately you leave Aba, for example, you come into those hilly Enugu state, running down to Ebonyi state, maybe get a little bit of flat, then you come to the base of River Benue, and from there you start climbing the plateau. So it's hilly, it's curved, okay? The best, do you know the best in terms of engineering, rationalization? It's narrow gauge. It's even narrow gauge. It's the most. It's lighter. It can negotiate curves that are, smaller, and the engine can also thrive easily because they are lighter. Okay, and if you talk the speed, it depends on the power of the engine of the locomotive. Locomotive literally means that engine that moves the train. So if the engine is powered seriously and the wheels are narrow gauge, it will run very well. It will run very well. And there's nothing wrong with narrow gauge. It's not hold. It's just a choice that you make either purely from the kind of terrain you are passing your train through or what you have on ground. In some cases, you can say that, okay, cost. But talking about cost as a factor, there are so many criteria that you can't just say it's cost is less or more. In some cases, narrow gauge are more expensive than standard gauge. And I can tell you also in some countries today, like South Africa, they have more narrow gauge functioning line than standard gauge. So really there's no difference.
How many years will it take for the completion of the Eastern Rail Line project, and how will it benefit the people?
Let me first of all talk about the benefit. If you look at it, you will see that the project on completion is connected to a seaport that is originating from the directive of the president that we must connect to seaport so that we can see how the economy can push forward. Concerted if you have it what you connected to railways. And then you have an industrial park. And in terms of the operation, they are integrated. So the benefit first is that you are able to take your raw material from everywhere within that zone. And it's encompassing 3 geopolitical zones, or 4: northeast, north central, southeast, south. Between these 4 zones, we have about 15 states. You can imagine the output in terms of agriculture, mining resources from these states for Nigeria. That's enough. Then from there, if you are able to move more volume, that means that you'll be thinking of expanding your factory, your mining, your agri base. You're going to employ more. That's employment for you, not small. Then the project has been affected by an industrial park. If you go to an industrial park, you can add value to that material you are bringing, like they do in other countries too. If you are exporting leather for shoes, which you can do, or you want to use it for local something. Leather is mainly in the northeast, and if you brought it to south, they can work on it. Okay, bring it to a thin leather for the use by shoe manufacturing or leather works industries in the south, and even return it again to places within the country. Okay, and then those for export, they will just travel another 80-something kilometers and they are in the port in big volume. That is just one example. So many raw materials like this will be. And then for benefits again, if you have a port that is also a hub, it can service countries in the hinterland. It can service Chad, Niger Republic, even up to Gabon. And these are countries that have also expressed their interest in some of this infrastructure Nigeria is building now. Okay? You can have people coming from Europe, rather than them going all the way around again to the countries in the Indian Ocean. They can drop goods in Port of Borneo, which is the deep sea port, and it's big and transfer it, and other places take over from there. It shortens the time. It make market and businesses come to Nigeria. Okay, those are the benefits. Apart from moving passengers, businesses faster and cheaper. It's cheaper to move by train. Even it's working very well, it's cheaper. So the amount of money that's in terms of proportion of price of goods passed to the consumer will reduce greatly by the time you have it. And this railway again has extensions. So if you're talking about the completion period, it's not just Portharcourt to Maiduguri. Government is thinking to widen the network, to cover the eastern line, to cover most of the industrial and manufacturing base in the southeast. So now it's thinking of going from Enugu, which is on the main line, to Oka, to Onitsha. Okay? And industries are pockets of industries all over those places. Nigeria made goods. So if you can build short lines, state government can contribute heavily now. They can take advantage of it. Without waiting for government to bring the railway to your doorsteps. They can create short rails, which is what we call third-party rails, or even freight highways. 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, they know it's for freight, so that they can have what we call logistics park, where every manufacturer will go load their things, package it very well, and move it to the rail goods platform and up for export. Okay, at a cheaper, affordable price. Yes. So the Portharcourt, so in terms of completion period, now you'll be talking about 2.5 to 3 years. Okay, and you get a fully fitted eastern optional line. It may not be standard narrow gauge the best fitted, but again here we already are able to economize the resources because we have formation already existing. Okay, we have most of these iron rails. Still very sharp, good, but nothing wrong with them because they are abandoned. Maybe we change some components and that's it. And you have a railway. The alternative of building a new line is unthinkable. The price. You know the length, 2,000 plus kilometers. When you add Abakaliki, you had Oka, Onitsha, okay, you had Damaturu, you had some of me going to Owerri. Well, it's 2,000 plus. It's a lot of billions. But this one now is more rational.
So 2.5 to
3 years. 3 years you should get the trade. You should get most part, but most part of it for use.
Okay.
Don't forget in this type of infrastructure, you can also have what they call substantially completed. It's fit for the purpose it was built. Maybe there are still some things, but it can run train.
Okay.
We must get there.